Welcome to Mangastorian's Complete Story Series, and today we're going to be covering Berserk chapters 17 through 22. Things are getting crazy for Guts. I hope you're ready. At the end of our last video, Guts and Casca became separated in their latest battle. While tending to their wounds, the two hid out in a cave awaiting for the moment that they could move out. But while they sat, Guts asked what was it that made her join the Hawks, and soon, she began to tell her story. Once she finished telling Guts how she joined, she then explained the life afterwards. She followed Griffith, even worshipped him. But he was a commoner just like the rest of them. By the time she was able to become a soldier, the Hawks had been serving underneath a baron who was very wealthy and well known. However, there was a rumor about him that he had an obsession and he would pick up little boys from nearby villages, but only the cute ones, and he would imprison them. But all of those boys, their eyes were empty and they had no feelings aside from fear. Later, the Hawks would continue their battles, but one day after fighting, Griffith found a young boy in the battlefield who decided to follow him. He was a nice boy who would help serve dinner, but that day when Griffith saw his lifeless body, he wondered if the thing that really killed him was his own dream. After that is when Casca began to see the changes in Griffith, and one night several days later, she went to the castle of the Baron to see him. While walking past the Baron's chamber, she noticed that Griffith was standing on the Baron's balcony, and moments later the Baron appeared and walked him back into his chambers with his arm around him. The next morning she found Griffith down by the river bathing, and when he noticed her, he asked if she would like to bathe with him. But while Casca tries to find her words to speak, Griffith then says that maybe she doesn't like it because the water is too dirty. Casca then asks why he was with the Baron, and with his simple answer, he tells her because of money. With their army growing, they needed funding to support everything, so instead of losing soldiers in the field, Griffith did a little math and decided that sleeping with the Baron for one night would give him 10 battles worth of money. Griffith tells her that he doesn't feel responsible when the soldiers die under his orders. They chose to fight in his battle. But for them, the only thing he can do for the lost is win. As he continues talking, Griffith begins to grip onto his arm, dragging his nails and ripping apart the flesh. The dreams he has depends on the corpses of his men, a dream soaked in blood. And as the blood drips from his arm, Casca runs to him, telling him to stop, and begins to hold him, telling him that that's enough. So since then, she figured that if this man was willing to sacrifice anything for his dream, that she will become his sword. Casca goes on stating how she wanted to be by his side, help him make his dreams come true, and that those dreams were reachable. That was until he came along. Griffith told him what he has never told anyone, that he wants him. In fact, she thought she would envy the person who was told those words. But him, she just told herself all Guts was an asset to the Hawks, but Griffith gets so worried about things if they involve him. The one thing, though, that she can't forgive is the fact that he doesn't care about others. He almost caused Griffith to die. Casca gets up standing over Guts and tries to yell at him, but all she can do is fall to his chest asking why. Why does it have to be you, Griffith wants? As Casca begins to cry, Guts hears the sounds of soldiers outside, and as the soldiers continue moving past them, he says that she needs to hurry and take the medicine. They can't stay here any longer. As the sun goes down, the two gear up and they begin to move out, and as they walk, Casca begins to feel weak from the fever again, and Guts asks if she's okay. While trying to catch her breath, Guts tells her it's just like they said. Women are trouble when it's this time of the month, but they can't take breaks because she isn't feeling good. The enemy doesn't care if she's a girl, they will kill them all the same, and with that, Casca picks herself up and pushes through Guts, stating let's go. However, not long after that, Guts noticed something else in the woods, and quickly pushes Casca out of the way of an oncoming bolt. Suddenly, soldiers begin to surround them, and from the group, Adon steps out, stating that he's so happy that he found them. Though he, an honorable knight, was struck by the likes of him, he must take his revenge. He won't kill them right away. He will use his ancestors' techniques to torture him slowly, and for the woman, he will give her to the soldiers for their pleasure. Guts says that he better watch out, she might bite them off, and Adon shouts, kill them! The swords begin to swing as the soldiers rush in at the two of them, but with Guts' strength and Casca's speed, they begin to hold their own. More soldiers begin to pile onto them, and Guts jumps and stabs through one of the soldiers' mouths, and as he lands, he slashes upwards, cutting through the others. As the soldiers are being slaughtered, Adon says that they are all useless. It's time for his younger brother, the Blue Whale Armor Knight Samson, to handle them. Samson charges in swinging his flail, and Casca thinks how she won't be able to block those attacks, but that's when Guts stands between her and Samson. Samson swings down and Guts blocks the attack, but afterwards continues attacking relentlessly. While Guts is continuing to block them, Casca watches, thinking if he's doing that because of her. As she stands behind, she notices the wound that he took before they fell. He's even defending her while wounded. Soon the attacks stop and Guts says, hey, I'll create a chance, escape the forest. But just as Casca asks him what about him, Samson swings again, except this time, instead of blocking the attack, Guts swings his sword and begins to cut through the spiked ball, breaking it. Samson looks at the flail, and then Guts jumps up and swings back down. Holding his shield up to stop the attack, Samson doesn't have the power because the slash is so strong that it cuts through, and then it slams down after splitting Samson's head in two. Guts turns back and tells her, "No, get moving!" But Casca tells him she can't go alone, she just can't. Adon then tells the other soldiers to aim and fire at the woman, and as the bolts begin to fly, Guts runs in shielding Casca with his body. She asks him why. Why is he doing this? And he tells her, "Don't misunderstand me. Only a sick person will get in my way, because I have unfinished business with that guy." Casca remains silent, but then Guts asks if it's good for her to die in a place like this. Well, this shitty place will be the place where she dies. So go on, the sword must be held at the handle. Go back to Griffith. Guts then stops and throws his helmet to the ground, and he begins to smile as he begins cutting away at the soldiers. Casca tells him that she'll be back with the rescue team, for wait for her, don't die. And Guts just grins and he charges back at the soldiers, dragging his sword. He cuts through the heads of one of them while heading towards the other group. He goes back to hacking and slashing and cutting them to pieces, but then he stops, telling them that his sword is getting awfully dull. With his sword being 3 times the weight and thickness of a normal sword, if he hits them, it will be a painful death. Elsewhere in the woods, Casca runs through them, but she trips on a tree root, and then she sees that she's being chased. From the ledge above her, a soldier jumps out, but with a quick draw of her sword, Casca cuts through the man before he can even land. The other ones then begin to catch up, and not being able to take them all on, she kicks one in the face and begins to run. Back at the main battle, the fight continues as Guts cuts through everyone, killing them in his path. Some archers behind the group get ready to attack, and as one fires a bolt, Guts catches the bolt through his hand, and then he charges, thrusting his sword into the archer's mouth. More soldiers begin to surround him, and with not much use of his left hand, he says that things are starting to get fun. Over with Casca, the soldiers begin to surround her, and she begins to slow down because of the fever. One soldier stands over her ready to swing down a heavy mace, but before he can, she slashes away, cutting his throat. More soldiers begin to appear and overwhelm her, and then they disarm her. A soldier looks down, telling her that she's killed so many of their comrades, so before killing her, he's gonna take something from her. He begins to cut away at the straps of her armor, cutting off her shirt, and all she can think of is how she can't escape. She has no strength. Is she really going to die here? No, she has to go back. She has to go back to the owner of the sword. Just as the soldier begins to crawl on top of her, she reaches and grabs a stick and jams it in the soldier's eye. She jumps over her sword, but before she can swing, bolts fly through the air, hitting all of the soldiers, and she hears a voice call out, "Stop." As she looks back, she sees Judo, stating they can't do that. Casca is their only flower. Back over with Guts, though, he stands over a mountain of bodies, stating that there's still so many of them. It'll be dawn before I'm done decapitating all of you. Over with Casca and the rest, she runs over to Judo, telling him that they have to hurry. Guts, they just need to hurry. Judo asks what happened, and Casca tells him about the fight and how Guts allowed her to escape, but he's alone, they must hurry. She begins to run, telling herself that she hopes that she can make it. She hopes that they can make it in time. But as the sun comes up, Casca reaches where the battle took place and sees bodies littered all over the floor. And then she sees him, Guts sitting resting against a tree, wounded and bloody. She rushes over and begins shaking him, shouting for him to get up, but he just grabs her, telling her, "You're being so loud. Don't shake me. It kinda hurts when you do that." Not long after, everyone helps carry Guts back to the camp and have the doctors look at him. As the doctor gets done wrapping him up, everyone asks how he's doing. And the doctor tells them that he's tough, he won't die easily, but that was the last fight in this campaign for him. Guts shouts out, "Are you nuts? I'll crawl to the next battle if I have to." And the doctor tells him, "You know what? I don't care. I won't be responsible for your death, so do whatever you want." Later that night, the Hawks gather around to celebrate their victory and the return of Guts and Casca, but during dinner, Judo asks Casca if she has a moment to talk to him. Once alone, he tells her that when Griffith found out that they were missing, even though the other general disagreed, he ordered a search party for them and said that the 2 missing are crucial to the Hawks. They can't afford to lose them. Just thought that she should know. Judo then says he really was amazed to hear him say that. Honestly, he envies her. But as Casca begins to cry, he tosses her a small pouch stating it's a medicine. It might look like dust, but it's actually elf dust. The stuff works like a charm. Casca begins to run back to the camp to give Guts the medicine, but she notices that he's not in his tent, and she finds him sitting alone by an old tree. After walking up the hill, Casca asks why he isn't resting, and Guts says that his whole body aches. He would rather be out here in the breeze anyway. Casca then begins to unwrap the bandages, rubbing the medicine over his cuts, and they begin to heal. And Guts asks what was that. She tells him Judo gave it to her, it's some kind of magic medicine. Then as she continues to rub it in, he tells her that she doesn't have to thank him like this. He didn't save her because he wanted to. He would rather face his enemies than run from them, but to be honest, he realized something. He really doesn't compare to her or Griffith. Both of you hold on to something, gambling with your very lives, and it amazes me. Because for me, I just kill for the sake of killing. Nothing honorable about that. And as Guts looks out of the camp, he says each of those flames out there, they look like a small dream for each person. like a bonfire of dreams. Normally, a small flame is easily put out, but when you join them, they become a strong flame, and that flame is Griffith. Truth is, there's no flame for him over there. He's just a temporary visitor taking comfort in the flame. No matter what, I'll come out and survive every battle. It's been true so far. But maybe my reason for fighting has been somebody else's reason. Guts then gets up stating, "I'm sorry for boring you. I'm not really sure why I said all of those things. Makes me feel like a fool." And Casca just smiles. But as Guts begins to walk back, Casca stops him and asks if he's thinking of leaving the Hawks. He says that he'll stay until the war is over, but before Casca can ask about after, Ricket and Pippet run up the hill shouting, "Griffith is back from his trip early!" Everyone runs over to Griffith and they welcome him back, and Casca runs up stating that she's sorry for slowing everyone down. It was because she hid her health condition that she endangered her troops and got Guts hurt. She failed and she'll accept any punishment that he sees fit. Guts just stands there and slaps Casca on the butt, causing her to jump into Griffith's arms. But before she can yell at him, Griffith tells her welcome back, and she just blushes. After quickly jumping back off Griffith, Casca watches Guts walk off with the other soldiers, thinking if he is really serious about leaving. And that concludes these chapters of Berserk. We'll be back very soon with the next part of this, and I hope you guys are enjoying it. But if you want to keep up to date on the Berserk saga, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Twitter at Mangastorian. I'll see you next time right here.
Thank you.